I have a small group of guys now, for all former students training with me again. And we were doing a three-star exercise, which you remember, San Xing, which is actually a Wing Chun exercise where you're kind of banging your arms together for durability and you're kind of, and then the stories started pouring out from everybody about who was tough and who had the bladey arms and the thin arms that would cut like a knife, right? You were one of those thin guys that would cut people like several. You're one of them. And then that's how your name popped up.
That's good.
I remember.
Hi, welcome. My name is Costa, and this is my third episode of In the Zone with Costa. And I have the awesome privilege of having a conversation with my martial arts instructor 25 years ago, Rao Wu. I still don't know how old you are. That's okay. I'm not asking. I met Rao 25 years ago and it changed my life. I was in this style that he created called Wu Trin Do that we couldn't explain what it was back then. But today, after so many years of UFC fighting, we can say basically it was a mixed martial arts. And Rao is here to have a conversation with Rao and tell us all about it and see how that got started, sort of the philosophy and whatever we want to talk about. So welcome, Rao.
Thanks, Costas. It's good to talk to you again. It's been a long time, obviously, since we've connected. So yeah, it's great to speak with you again. I like catching up with former students, and I've caught up with several recently, most recently, actually.
So my name came up because you contacted me because you guys are doing an exercise called the 3-star exercise. Tell me what happened with that.
Yeah, so I have a small group of guys now, for all former students training with me again. And we were doing a 3-star exercise, which you remember, San Xing, which is actually a Wing Chun exercise where you're kind of banging your arms together for durability and you're kind of, and then the stories started pouring out from everybody about who was tough and who had the bladey arms and the thin arms that would cut like a knife, right? You were one of those thin guys that would cut people like several. You're one of them. And then that's how your name popped up.
That's good.
I remember the most generous voicemail I guess you left me on Messenger years back that I listened to, and I texted you back on it. And I thought, man, I got to reach out to Costas. So a lot of people from the school and back in that time era, we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
We didn't even have cell phones. I think that was all starting to come out. They were certainly not smartphones, right? They're like these big clunky phones that you would carry around.
The brick.
So, a lot of the former students and people from the school I've lost complete contact with. And so looking them up through Facebook or LinkedIn or social media efforts, right, or how I can try to track people down. And obviously we were connected, so I was able to connect back with you really quick.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So I met you through a friend of ours, Dave Pina.
I just talked to him not too long ago. Yes.
He's an interesting character, which reminds me I should probably get him on the show, and we'll be on there for like 10 hours.
Oh, yeah. We just caught up probably, I want to say 2 months ago on the phone. So, yeah.
This is so I got introduced to you, and then, we were training at your house in East San Jose.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about East San Jose.
East San Jose. That's right.
This is your mom's place. There we used to train on the driveway. It was a fluffy driveway.
Yep.
And one of the things we had to do is wear those wrestling shoes because, man, that thing would tear up your feet.
Oh, yeah.
So
set the concrete, the rocks, and then all the holes that were burning through the wrestling shoes, and people would duct tape them.
That's right.
We're all kind of poor back then, so we couldn't just keep buying wrestling shoes, right?
So if people don't know, East San Jose was kind of a tough place. And then it was like,
oh, yeah.
You don't mess around in East San Jose. And
that's right.
We'd always have people driving by making comments.
Oh, that happened. Oh, sure.
But they never stopped. That's the thing. And then you had your neighbor next door with his car. He would rev up his car.
Yep.
Gosh. It was like we'd be practicing, we'd be doing our thing. And then next thing you know, a big mouthful of gas or fumes would come our way.
Yeah. And we train out there, rain or shine, right? It was sunny, it was crazy, it was winter, raining on us.
That's right. Crazy. So how did this, okay, Wu Trin Do, the style of Wu, which is your last name, right? And how did you come up with that? What happened?
How did I come up with Wu Trin Do?
How you trained with different styles, and what's your background?
Yeah, I've trained in different arts. My first style was Kaju Kimbo, which is in itself a mixed martial art. Karate, Judo, Kempo, and Bo for Chinese boxing. It's kind of the amalgam of how the name got created. This was Emperado's method of Sifu Max Tokisawa from Hawaii. And this was a Hawaiian system that developed there, trained a lot of U.S. military personnel when, military were stationed out there. And at the time, its claim to fame was kind of a mixed martial arts, street savvy, street oriented, realistic combat kind of systems. That was my original system. Since then, I had moved on to obviously karate systems and taekwondo systems, and then started expanding my world of knowledge from there. I trained a lot in Northern Kung Fu, Wing Chun. Much later got into grappling, right? Got into a lot of shoot wrestling. I worked out with lots of wrestlers when I was in high school, a lot of friends. And some of my former students were wrestlers, so I was able to work out and train with them a lot. And inevitably, I started teaching my own system just because friends wanted to learn. And it was just friends. It was just, okay, I'd start working with that friends. We'd go running, then we'd start training, and they started learning how to kick or punch or how to stand. And the following started growing from there, right? Where people started learning what I was doing. And then I started formalizing it. And inevitably, I needed to come up with a name, right? So that's how Wu Trin Do was born.
So the whole idea, what attracted me to your system is that the one thing I remember is kill or be killed. Like that was like, you had to do it to them first before they do it to you. So it was a way to protect yourself right away. Like,
It's an aggressive system. Yeah, there's a lot of, it's heavily offensive focused. I would say we try to spend time equally, but it's not really true. It's probably 75% more offensive than 25% defensive. But the idea being, ultimately, you can't defend forever. You're going to have to put somebody down if they're really coming after you, right? And that sort of thing. So that was the focus.
And then we were doing it. I mean, eventually you moved to a studio in Sunnyvale, which is nice. But I didn't have to take a 3-hour bus ride.
Yeah, you're taking the transit to get to my house in San Jose, right?
That's right. I would take an hour to college, spend all day at the community college, spend 3 hours in the bus, get to your place, training, and then another 2 hours back home. So
one of the things, Costas, I'll never forget is we practiced 1 year on, I think it was New Year's Eve, at night, and we were training. And, a small group showed up, but you're one of the guys from the bus. I remember you coming up there. I remember that day. Do you remember that? It was like a New Year's Eve and we were practicing.
I don't remember, but I do remember this. I remember going to your house one time and I hadn't eaten all day, and I'm putting my clothes on and I'm hungry, and I opened the fridge and the only thing that was in there was a jar of pickles. And I'd never.
You're talking about the fridge that was in the side studio, right?
Well, in the back, yeah, at the house.
I know, but at the house I had that little side studio. Remember, like converted.
Yeah. But you had some couch in the very back, and you had a fridge.
That's right.
One jar of pickles. I didn't like pickles at the time. Like I did not eat pickles, but I was so freaking hungry. Those pickles taste. I had 3 of them. I was so the best.
That's where those pickles went.
What?
That's where those pickles went.
It was like a new can. I opened it up. I don't care, dude.
Oh, I can imagine that. Yeah.
So, and then you moved to.
I'm surprised you didn't puke. Most people that would train, if they're eating when they walked in, for sure it was pretty much coming out.
Not me, man.
That happened at the school many times.
I held it down.
Oh, good.
It was so good. I mean, so then it was around the time when UFC came out. So there was this talk that you were going to go there. You were kind of training to do that.
Yeah.
How do you see UFC now versus then? Like, I mean, it's changed.
Oh, it's much more sophisticated now. Back then, there was no weight divisions. I mean, that was a big barrier. It was like you're fighting a 300, 600-pound guy, and the rules were completely rudimentary. I'd say archaic compared to what they are today. Today they have weight classes, weight divisions. Obviously, the rules are far more refined, and the sport is far more sophisticated than its original time. That being said, there was also lots of issues with drug testing and crazy things happening behind the scenes there too. So pretty wild west back then. And so thinking that through would have been a crazy idea to do it.
I mean, nowadays it's like it's a meat grinder. It goes in there. If you don't know what you're doing.
But what's come of that is actually really beneficial for the world. I think the world's perspective changed on martial arts, the understanding and the importance of grappling with the Gracies and their phenomenal success. They've changed the world of martial arts forever, which is a good thing. But what's happened today is most MMA systems are just that now. They're their own systems. It's almost as if you certainly have individual backgrounds with these fighters. They come from this lineage or that lineage or this system or that system, but they all have to conform to some basic elements of what the sport is going to take. They're going to learn their ground game. They're going to learn their boxing, kickboxing. They're going to learn their basic positions and how to get out of submissions and how to submit other people. Yeah. That's good. That's kind of a core system. And now what's going to happen is they're going to start to get an edge. They're going to keep expanding that. the fighters there will have to start going outside of the norms, outside of conditioning and outside of training. They're going to start learning new things, and it's going to evolve. Just as jiu-jitsu's evolved even since then, right? Just as MMA has evolved since then. And so it's going to keep changing and getting refined. And I think that's a good thing.
Are you saying because people learn certain things and they use them and they win, so like we got to find an edge, we got to do something to counteract that or do, so they're always learning and trying to do stuff.
Correct,
right?
Correct. And from there, there's been an explosion of innovations in grappling and MMA in general, and striking and conditioning and all these different areas. And I think that's going to continue like everything else. I mean, people say there's nothing that hasn't been seen before, but if you look at, I'm sure you've heard of that term meta, M-E-T-A, right? And like in gaming, the meta is this build or the meta is that build, right? There's kind of that scenario too, where the meta today is going to be different from the meta in the future, and the meta today is different from what the meta was back when. Do you remember when UFCs first came out and the conversation around the world was, oh, striking doesn't work, it's all grappling? Do you remember that? Today that's not true. You'll see it. Do you remember these statements? High kicks in the head, they don't work. There's plenty of footage you'll find today, guys getting kicked in the head, getting knocked out.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't work. You'll see guys jumping up and kneeing people in the head, knocking them out. Spinning doesn't work. You'll see guys spinning with the spinning back knuckle or spinning back this, clocking people in the head, knocking them out.
I mean, knees, elbows.
All the things that people say wouldn't happen. Right? And so again, that's testament to how things go. Fights always go to the ground. Remember that? That was a common thing,
right?
Back when
there's
plenty of fights today where they don't go to the ground because both fighters don't want to.
Yeah.
So
well, they know how to get up now. You see them and
they're skilled now. Yeah, they know what's happening. Where back in the original day, when they got triangle choked or armbar, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to defend it. They didn't know.
So now people are training like we were training, in the sense that you're training different ranges of combat, and that's what I remember the most. That's how I used to explain it to people. 4 ranges of combat.
Yeah, exactly. And people have different shades and grades of how that even works.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's correct.
So, wow. I gotta say, after doing 4 years of martial arts with you, that was like the only time I ever did martial arts in my life. To this day, just so you know, my nervous system is like, it still fires. Like I'm catching things falling, people throw things at me and I catch them like that, and it freaks people out. They're like, what are you doing? Who are you?
You have quick reflexes, right?
Yeah.
Good attribute.
So after all these years, it still works.
What does shock me sometimes is I'll have, and this is not necessarily recently, but even throughout the years of training up till 2020, a former student came back or would visit or train with us and shocked me and even themselves at the skill level they retained for not doing it for so many years off. We had one session, and even though we stopped in 2020, I remember vividly, it was December of 2022, where a former student of mine was going to be in the Bay Area for the holidays, wanted his son to meet me, right? Wanted to train for one practice night. So I called some of the guys together that night, and we had a one-night training in all of 2022 with those guys. And I threw my kids in there too, right? Because they started learning at the time. And it was a fun night, but I was blown away at a lot of these guys that used to train with me up until 2020 that were out for a few years, and they were blasting the pads and punching holes through the shields, and I was impressed. Like, wow, for so many years off, these guys are really good. They're really good. I was pretty impressed.
Did you maintain the belt system after I left? Was it kind of similar, or?
The structure hasn't, I've not changed it on paper. I've changed, I think, what the requirements would be now that I'm taking my kids through the system. But yeah, right now in my head, I haven't really changed how the belt system worked, but I haven't really been focused on it either. It's really been the development of the skill sets that we're focused on.
I still got my notes. I still got my notebook. I don't know those crazy combinations we're doing. My goodness, I can't even read them.
Oh, there's so many. We're still doing them, so that's kind of funny.
Especially the boxing kicking combinations that lasted forever. I mean, it was like this, and this.
They're like mini forms almost, right? But that's all tool development.
Yeah.
Those combinations are meant to be realistic as far as you're going to do hand combination J, right?
Yeah.
They're there to train you on what the tools are. This is a hook punch. This is a tight hook or a body cut, or this is how you're going to use it, and this is how you put it together. One of the things that I don't think you've ever gotten to was taking that combination, let's say a jab, jab, straight. I know you remember that. And learning how to do it in a static position, which you guys all learn how to do, but learning how to advance it moving forward, or learning how to retreat using it, or learning how to pivot left or pivot right using that same combination, or what I would call drift left or drift right. So there's different footwork patterns with the same combination. Now, that's an easy one, But can you imagine a more complex one like M, jab, straight, jab, 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 uppercut, body cut, where you're doing the same thing forward or backward or left or right or moving around. So learning how to position the footwork together and how the tools work differently in those situations are the next levels of where you take the combinations.
And then ultimately, it wasn't, I mean, you weren't going to go in the ring and start doing the combinations. It was basically just train your nervous system to be able to move.
Yeah,
You know,
training the tools.
your body just knows what to do.
Learning how to exactly use these attacks and use this defense or use this position, and then building the attributes around it, hitting things, right? Punching pads and shields, using it in timing and sparring, or using it against defenses when people are blocking and trying to clinch or close distance on you, things like that.
Yeah. I recently, 2-3 years ago, started strength training, and you know, I love the squats, and I wish I would have done strength training back then, because it would have been much better than no.
Always get stronger, always get faster, build more endurance, right?
I mean, Anthony, you remember Anthony?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that guy was so strong and so fast, and it was like,
there's some big strong guys that came to train with us for sure.
And Damien, these people,
he just moved away from the Bay Area.
They're still in the Bay Area.
He just moved away. Yeah.
Okay. So what else? Can you tell me about Wu Trin Do, or I don't know, what's happened since then? Or
so I've been getting intermittent requests, about, hey, are we ever going to train again, or are we going to, come back and start doing this again? And at one point in my head, I was like, I'm retired, right? I don't think we need to. But after working with my kids, and again, getting back into developing the system again, because my mind starts moving again, right? After I'm starting to work with my kids. And again, for my kids, this is more of a chore. Oh, they have to do this, right? It's not like they love martial arts and they want to learn how to fight. They just, they have to do this because their dad's making them do it, that sort of thing. But it's forced me to develop and conceptualize new ideas and think things out today.
Yeah.
So that's caused more development of the system, more refinement, and that's caused more passion and zeal into doing this again. And so eventually I said, you know what, guys, let's grab a handful of people and start up again. And so we did, as of, I believe, February of this year. Yeah, a little over 2 months in now.
You should know this. There's no retired martial artist, so stop it. You're just gonna be like old guy, beard, whatever. You're just gonna like doing whatever you're doing. You're just gonna kill over doing that. So just get over it.
Just get over it. Yep.
It's no retirement. I had a mentor in graphic design. He said there are no retired graphic designers. They don't exist.
They just keep going, right?
I think the same for martial artists. There's no such thing. We just grow a long beard, whatever. You just keep doing it.
So, right now, the students I have a few, again, that are back, and some of it are really, really loving what they're doing. Like, they love this.
Yeah.
And they have choices. They can go train other systems. I don't care if people are training other systems. I think it's good. Even former students that are training other systems, I'd come back and train with me still, right? Maybe I've got something to learn from them. I don't care, right? To me, I love a lot of the different systems. I'm agnostic when it comes to taking and learning from other systems, cultures, whatever it might be, right? I think there's something to offer everywhere.
Especially now with USC, what's going on. There's so much. I mean, you're in a sense thinking about that idea of mixed martial arts. Even back then, we didn't call it that. We didn't have the words for it, but that's what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
So you were ahead of your time, Ralph.
Well, not really. As I mentioned, Bruce Lee was the founder of this idea ultimately, and I think reading a lot of his philosophy and a lot of his outlook with his Jeet Kune Do and those concepts imprinted upon me this journey when I was in high school. One of the things I recall vividly was a Jeet Kune Do instructor walking into the school one day, and he had a shirt, and obviously I recognized it. I'd never trained in Jeet Kune Do, obviously, so but he was like, yeah, I run a Jeet Kune Do school out in, I don't know where it was, Petaluma or somewhere like that. Pretty far. It wasn't here. It wasn't in Sunnyvale.
It was like down the street from my house, Petaluma.
I think so, yeah, when you're there. And I have a student now who's driving in from Petaluma to San Jose to train with us on Monday nights. So that's a 2-hour commute, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he sat there and watched the whole class. Like, he's, had those seats up front. He sat down. I'm like, yeah, help yourself and, make yourself at home. And he watched the whole class. And after it was done, I went up to approach him. He's like, yeah, I got to leave. And he's like, this looks a lot like what we do. right? In Jeet Kune Do. And to me, I was honored, right? Because of, my affinity for Bruce's art and philosophy back then. That was my one run-in with an actual JKD guy, that experience.
What happened after that? And
Yeah, I've never seen it, but yeah, I just thought it was an interesting anecdote, right?
so no more contact, just that.
No, I never heard from the guy. Yeah, I ran into so many people over at that school. Yeah, I've lost. And again, social media, all that
Yeah.
stuff today, what we have today is different from how it was back when.
Yeah, it's neat to be able to connect with people and to see people how they've grown. Now you have kids. How many? You have 2 kids.
2 kids, 10 and 11. Yeah,
Congratulations. I have 4.
4 kids. You got me beat.
20, 27, 23,
Oh, adult.
16,
adult.
and 13. And a boy. He's the boy.
13.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not too far from my youngest because she's going to be 12 next month. Wow. Okay, so yeah, you know that age, and you've been through that. You've been through the ringer. You know it, right?
There's a big gap in between. And so we have the 2 girls, big gap in between, and then we have another 2. And so what's nice?
That gap probably helps you because your older ones are helping a lot.
That's right.
Because they're older.
We can go out now.
Yeah, you can do that kind of stuff.
That's so funny. I'm in the middle of my living room, so it's organic. I don't have a studio, so we got water running in the back.
I can tell.
You can't hear?
I can't tell from where I'm at.
Oh my God. I gotta let it go. I'm learning to let go. So
you're doing what, marketing now? Is that
so
your
I've been doing graphic design for the past 30 years.
graphic design?
So I do branding, logos, I build websites, and I'm sort of a creative director to like CMOs, companies that have like a marketing department. So I come alongside them and help them, produce and create all their stuff.
Got it.
I'm still doing the work. I have my own business. I mean, I love doing that kind of work.
Yeah.
So I ran into this thing where like I was trying to do marketing. I'm not good at marketing. So I decided to let it go. And this podcast is a way to sort of let people know me, and just talk to people about what they're doing. The ultimate is I want to find out what's in your heart, what are you passionate about, and I just want to get to know you and catch up with you. There's a lot of people I haven't talked to in a long time, so I don't have a plan to dominate the world, whatever. I just want to have conversations and see what happens. I'm not.
Yep.
So
I mean, you're working on getting this part off the ground. This is one of your, dare I say, I don't want to know if hobbies is the right word, but something of interest.
It's in my wheelhouse because what's cool about this is I like technology. I hook everything up. I did the branding. Right. I'm now doing some video editing, create YouTube channels and all this stuff. So I'm doing like Gary Vee. I'm like blasting the internet with shorts and videos and clips and all that stuff. So I'm learning how that whole thing works and TikTok and learning to operate on the social media. Yeah. So it's a big giant experiment for me. So I don't know. Sure. My big dream is to be sitting across from Joe Rogan one day and just have a conversation. that's the big dream.
There you go. MMA guy, right?
MMA guy. I know a guy you need to talk to him. His name is Rao.
Right.
So anyways, that's what I'm doing. And it's been actually last year I got my insurance license and I'm going to do this. And I called everybody. Nobody's calling me back. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. So this is like, I started calling people. I got people, yeah, let's do it. I want to be on your show. 6 people. I got you. And it was like out of nowhere, all these people showed up. It was just beautiful. I'm like,
there you go.
That's what I'm doing.
Much different from selling insurance.
Sucks. Right? Sure. Yeah, you make a lot of money, but like if nobody calls you back, I was like dragging people, trying to get them to
that's a tough
return the form.
For sure.
Just sometimes you have to go. I don't know. It's like it's like you have to go with the flow, man. Sometimes it's like God's like, no, I don't want you to do this. I want you to do this.
Sure.
So
yeah. I mean, I think that's part of why I'm kind of back into training guys again. I don't know. It's something for sure that was there.
I mean, what's neat is that you get to connect with old students, but also you get to pass on something to the younger generation, and that's special.
Yeah. Hopefully my kids will be taking over this someday and running this somewhere. I don't know where.
Oh, don't make them do that. If they don't want to do that, they're not going to want to do that.
Yeah, we'll see. They've got I could say this, and I was telling my wife this, at the current age they're at now, they're far better than I was back then, at my age when I was their age. So that's a good thing. So, hopefully they can pick it up. But again, I don't know if it's in their passion to do it. Yeah. So we'll see.
And that's it. It's hard to let your kids do their thing. My dad was an engineer. I didn't want to be an engineer. Yeah. I didn't want to do computer science. Right. I didn't want to do any more math. I'm done. Right?
Sure.
So we had a little fight about that. It was arm wrestling for a couple of years. Like, I want to do this. want to do this.
Yep.
So they didn't know what I was doing. They just let me do it.
Right.
So yeah, this has been a wonderful career. I keep wanting to expand, but I don't want to. I like doing the work. So that's like I have my own business. So
Yeah.
I don't like the sales part. I don't like the accounting part. I just like doing the work. So
The admin part. Yeah, I didn't want to do any of that stuff when I was running the school either.
uh,
But I was a fallout with a friend that was going to run all that for me at
mm,
the time when I opened the school. Forced me to do everything, right? But I didn't want to do that stuff. But I had to, right?
collecting from a bunch of 20-year-olds, fees.
Collecting fees and paying the rent and doing all that stuff, right? Paying your bills. Yeah.
Why did you close the shop in Sunnyvale? Well,
Great question. So I don't know if you recall, but what happened was I started working professional.
mm,
And so I don't know if you remember I don't remember when you actually left. I'm trying to think of that, when that was. But what happened was I was working 8, 9 hour job, driving into the school or running it at night. And after a couple of years of that, I was getting really tired and burnt out. Like, man, I was like double duty, right?
yeah.
Full-time job and then running the school at night. And of course, I was making a lot more money in sales. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to close that down and we'll just bring it back, to a private group. And so that's what I did.
Oh, so school, and then you still train.
Yeah, we still trained at the house like the original days.
Did you have a straight driveway? Or did you the sloping? Was it different? No.
Well, at that point in time, I probably was still at my mom's
Oh,
house, but then then shortly thereafter, I got my own house, and
that's
then
right.
obviously we started
Good for
training
you.
there. And then I got the house I'm in now in 2007,
Yeah.
which is bigger than my original house
Yeah.
in 2001, and we have more area to train now.
Yeah.
But it's still not school.
I saw the pictures. It's smooth floors. The people have it easy.
Yeah, they have
Nobody
the
harassing them on
driveway.
the streets. Nobody driving
Right in the
by.
grass, right? I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, that was fun stuff.
I mean,
Yeah, they have it nicer.
learn how to keep you cool and not go chasing.
I don't know if you recall. Oh, yeah, I don't know if you were. I don't think you were training us after we closed the school.
No.
I think by then you were gone, or
Yeah.
you'd moved or got married. But yeah, I remember running around the block, making the guys run. That was
Oh.
fun. The guys hated that.
My-
We would run around the block.
My cardio is trash.
Yeah, well, I was ashamed back then compared to now, but nonetheless, we were doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Always done that. So, wow, things are moving. So you're developing the system still. You're expanding. That's cool. It's good to have a project, a life project that you can still work on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely definitely thinking things through and refining and updating and changing, going through various pieces. And again, I got kind of 2 experimental students with my kids, right? So I have them, but also the guys, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean,
Are you doing
I
anything
think
else besides Wu Trin Do, or that's your passion?
training and work.
Or just you got work, you got Wu Trin Do, but are you doing other things, or is that it for you?
Am I doing other things like recreationally?
Yeah, just anything that's interesting. I use collecting stamps. I don't know.
I still work out. I have a fish tank, so I have a reef tank. So yeah, I have a 500-gallon fish tank downstairs. Saltwater. So that was a hobby I picked up probably in 2001 with my first house, I think. So I'm into that. That's kind of one of the things I do. I'm into, I watch movies still. I'm still in the movie scene. I play video games with my son, right? We play games here and there. But yeah, that's pretty much. And then outside of training and developing the system, and I do work out even outside of the training. So I go to the gym, right? Yeah, that's pretty much keeping me busy. I mean, for work professionally, this changed my life quite a bit. The COVID shutdown had us all working remotely. You remember those years, right? But in the situation I find myself in, my company got acquired. We had an org change, and then ultimately they closed our local office. So I work out of home permanently. So that was completely different, and that allowed my wife to go back to work. She actually stopped working. She's a teacher. She actually stopped working when we had our kids, just to stay home and raise the kids. And then when COVID hit in 2020, she says, you know what? Now that you're home, right? This was probably actually in 2022 by the time she figured out. Since you're home for good at this point, because I didn't know I was home for good until like 2022, I can go back to work. And, you can get the kids to school, get them home, and that allowed us more freedom to do things like that. Yeah.
So you're still working from home now, or you?
I am working from home.
Okay.
Right?
Good for you. All right.
Job. I work from. I do have to travel from every now and then. I'm going to Atlanta in a couple of weeks, and then going to Florida, of all places. I am going to Florida, but in Orlando. So
Yeah, that's a ways. We don't know these people. We're Northerners.
But otherwise, day to day work is pretty much out of this office here.
That's cool. It takes some getting used to.
Oh, for sure.
You got to be clean, right?
Oh, for sure. It was the thing that, again, for this setup, the COVID is what started the kickoff of this whole thing. COVID reorgs and, companies getting acquired and reorgs happening and then people changing managers and management. Yeah, that allowed me to work from home for good.
Awesome. What about, like, okay, you said movies, or what kind of genres are you into? Now we're getting to the nitty gritty. What's your genre?
Oh, I like the same stuff.
What does
I
that mean?
mean, I don't know about genre. I like, action movies. I like fantasy. I just saw the Dune movie, Dune 2, I think it was last movie I saw at the theater. What I stopped watching, this was after we had kids, is
Oh.
horror movies. I used to be into that stuff, but I kind of stopped watching any of those things after I had kids, right? And yeah, that's pretty much, comedies, things like that. Nothing.
Well, no Korean dramas?
No Korean dramas. I didn't get away. What was the one that everybody was watching? The Squid Games or something? Was that a Korean?
I think
Yeah,
so.
that was-
My wife likes the Korean shows. She's up there watching. Oh, no, she's not watching right now.
Yeah, I didn't get into those. No,
So
no
funny.
Korean drama.
I don't know, man. This has been so cool. I think we'll run out of juice here. I don't know. Do you?
No, I'm good. I'm good, Costa. I mean, again, my goal is obviously just to connect with you
Yeah.
again. It's been so long.
Yeah, man. This is what a cool way. I mean, I like the idea of having a conversation. You record it and sharing Wu Trin Do with the world, because back then you're doing it, but we didn't have any social. We didn't have a website, so it's like word of mouth.
Sure.
So
Right.
you're not starting a big school right now, but it's a great historical sort of event that happened that I was part of,
Yeah.
and that you're still
Yeah, for
doing.
sure.
Some guy in San
Every-
Jose
every-
working
yeah.
on.
I'm thankful for everybody who's ever trained with me, under me, even if it was brief. You learn a lot from teaching things, right? So I think you know that, and that definitely helped me for sure.
But there's it's like you've left a legacy in people's lives. You don't know until you meet them again and they tell you, hey, this is what happened. This is how my life is different. So
Yeah,
that was a life-changing event for me. I mean,
I think so, and I've had recent messages through, like, again, people I've connected with on Facebook recently, where I lost track of them until recently, of trying to, like, hey, you're still in the area. There's very few people left in the area. Most people pulled the U and left, right? Which is probably the smarter thing to do out of California. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of messages that definitely shared that sentiment.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful and grateful and honored to be, part of people's lives, as little as that may have been, right? To that kind
that's huge. I mean, you're putting us through the ringer, 2-3 days a week, for years. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't forget that. You're the times when we're like up against the wall and you're doing the stretches, the splits. Oh my God, and you're going negative, you're going backwards. And we're like,
Straight up.
no more, you're killing me.
Yeah,
I
we
mean-
definitely pushed ourselves. I don't do that crazy stuff with the guys now. We're all too old.
Yeah, no, you gotta, you'll break
I make
something.
sure, make sure.
Hip,
Yeah, make sure we don't-
pull something.
but we were crazy back in our 20s. That was
Yeah.
that was not a problem.
It was good. All right, Rao, I'm gonna let you go. This has
Okay,
been a
Costa.
pleasure. So glad you came
Yeah,
on.
pleasure's all mine.
And-
We'll keep in touch for sure.
And let me practice, podcast host on you.
There you go.
So
All right, guys. You have a good. My best to Sandy and the family. Okay.